Lila, and Teeps, and Floor, and me. Rocket.
Boost! Fire!
This has happened before.
Advisor.
Water levels. Perfect topic for summer of 2026. And what better time as my first environmentalist? It's like their next door neighbor since water is always adjacent to beaches and banks. We all know the gist. Water levels are the most common nefarious environments in gaming for many obvious reasons. Limited air meters, the anxieties of drowning, poor mechanics especially in platforming, unrelenting auto-scrolling or currents, etc., etc. Rest assured, this refreshing repertoire has minimal setbacks, and I'm mostly judging them by their atmosphere and many other fun factors. Just like these same joyous characteristics present as early as Super Mario Bros. And I'm not counting those that revolve around an entire game such as Echo, Feeding Frenzy, Undersea Adventure, Jaws, Super Mario Sunshine, and so on. And I really miss ZeroMiles. Don't go drowning now, and no galleophobia included. Let's dive into this thing. Let's start this list from the earliest known era in Earth's history, the world before land, the first chapter in Evo's search for Eden. Just like our world, it's completely engulfed in one planet-blanketing ocean, and we have simple organisms that evolve gradually from jellyfish to sharks. You start as a simple purple fish at the ocean of origin, and only utilize swimming and biting, but over time, you gain Evo points which allow you to metamorphosize into more advanced species of increased speed, offense, and defense. Each level is mostly short, so here's the lowdown. The first section's the most basic, and it's okay for grinding before others to come. There are 9 levels in all, and you enter the Cave of Guidance, which introduces you to crystals triggering evolution. The Cave of Temptation has sea snakes occupying the place, which aren't a threat if your jaw's upgraded. The Ocean of Torotus is a good grinding spot for Evo points, catching schools of fast fish by luring them with your anglerfish light, as well as progressing through the bubble walls. If you manage to catch 50 of them, and that's when the Earth wakes up and forms land. After escaping, the Cave of Xenictus is a tricky underwater maze where looking for crystals and navigation can be dangerous and slippery, and has armored creatures that can pack a wall up. Just an example of God dang it! Your goal is to evolve as strong as possible by collecting Evo points. So as infamous as it is, Evo's considered to be grind heavy. However, the atmosphere and music often keep you compelled, so upgrading your jaw and tail and finding the sacred crystal is peak importance. The domain of Kepelas is the point of no return once exiting, so grinding is definitely recommended. Now the stakes are very high with the Cave of Origin. Collecting enough experience and upgrades before facing Kurasilich is of grave importance. You hear of evolving at the land, but the oxygen suffocates you, so you enter the shark tank and face your first boss loosely based on the Megalodon. Agility is key, trapping it against a wall while biting the rear, and once the vulnerable predator is done, it's smooth sailing. Forgive me for length, but there was a lot to explain, and when it came down to water levels, its origin inspired by our realm, the eerie atmospheres, hindrance of movement depending on your speed stats, and captivating gameplay while progressing to land surely makes the first chapter qualify here. This barely made the cut. It's the last track of the Emerald Cup, so that alone makes it very tedious, specifically with all the sharp turns and allowing many opportunities for the cheating rubber band AI to pass you unless you got the Fat Shark or some of those powerful secretive machines. It's also known as the longest circuit in the game by default, as well as having a 5-star difficulty, which is definitely accurate. In spite of that, many consider it as stress-free, since it has no hazards, 2 pit zones, and even a jump at the start of the circuit that allows racers to cut out an early turn, and a large drop in the middle portion making racers perform a quick L-turn, with the occasional slip zones as well. Unlike the previous track, the Slip Highway, Ordeal's track wraps around the base of the White Tower, in between 2 waterfalls, an underwater tunnel, and finally onto a long stretch of road leading through the Coliseum Hotel. Yes, I am aware I've mentioned Big Blue before. I wish it was more like a fish tank, though. And they should have more of those crazy flying fish and the gigantic diving eel you'd see in Sand Ocean. Aside from that one little portion, I wasn't much of a fan of that circuit, unlike others such as in Greenplant, Aeropolis, or Lightning. At least Big Blue itself inspired me to make my own circuit, the Dolphin Dive, featured in my epic ending it all as the 4th round. Ordeal meaning a test or nightmare suits the name well. It's certainly a tribulation in itself, thus taking the 9th rank. I just couldn't resist putting World 3, The Storms from Castle of Illusion on this list. Depending on difficulty is how far Mickey goes on traversing through the 3rd world of illusion and retrieving the 3rd gem. 3 out of 7 to enter Miserabel's lair. On easy difficulty, only the first section is present, as Mickey must navigate a subterranean maze filled with different routes of water and carried by the undertow. No worries on air meters required, but it does involve a lot of memorization and dedication to find the correct long tunnel to reach the exit. The ominous fast-moving clouds do give the level an astonishing effect. The 2nd level, reached on the higher difficulties, is where the bar is raised exponentially. Even the sinister music has given me the willies and adds onto the pressure on hopping over a massive abyss while dealing with annoying bat swarms, tiny platform blocks, and the sudden waterfalls forcing you down into the nether realm. seriously, ever since I was a toddler, this level and music definitely spelled hyperfixation and focus. The third section is deep chasms in which large waves force Mickey back from whence he came. However, the strong currents run on patterns and aren't as unforgivable as the sudden waterfalls. Just remember that if Mickey touches the tips of the stream, there's no effect. But if you touch any of the bottom layers, he gets caught and takes damage as well. Almost as merciless as the aggressive rip current itself. And finally the boss fight, a reptilian creature, or rather a frog, that hops amongst a tower of totem poles that often reminds me of those seen in Green Dog. It makes some wild jumping patterns that are often hard to reach it with Mickey's pound, and it often hides within the totem poles, then ambushes again. But if one is eliminated, so is the bottommost pillar, and the process repeats with another amphibian until everyone and obstacle have been decimated. This is surely when the difficulty first spikes up after the clown boss at Toyland, so precision and dedication are musts. And these aquatic ambiences rise up the antics like a towering tidal wave. Like I said, the tricky platforming and music going deeper in the forest racks up the angst, yet still they were irresistible in terms of hyperfixation. Third time seems to be the agonizing charm, I guess. It was hard picking a favorable water level from the Mega Man X series, and nowhere else. McWhalen's stage was kinda piss poor due to the non-stop auto-scrolling accompanied with the heavy physics and vindictive obstacles. And the Maverick itself was boring. Bubble Crab was okay, but it was very much dull despite being a promising hydrokinetic. So, my most prominent decision went down from the OG game, Launch Octopus. It once belonged to the Reploid Naval Unit, but along with its closer friend Volt Kryken, they joined Sigma's rebellion, so it unleashed its assault upon oceanic cities. But its submerged stage is where it's at. The entire stage takes place in an actual ocean from the shallow to the deep ends, and it's pretty much like a mini-boss gauntlet. 5 of them total, but 2 are optional. There's the usual irritating slow and heavy physics, and X having the rolling shield from Armored Armadillo is an absolute must. Other than the constant battles with several Angler Gurge, and other militaristic fish, the environment is very detailed, especially for a 16-bit game. The classic Mega Man games can't possibly compare. There are no worries about drowning, and you have free range unlike auto-screen crunches. In addition, there are some giant whirlpools to ride on, making X ascend to higher formations. Hell, you can use one to hitch a fun ride on Ruzeler, followed by this big submarine mini-boss, Utuboros, which its name kinda reminds me of Ouroboros and Strider, another Capcom property. And the music is decent here. Just Launch Octopus's design, concept, and skills alone make it fascinating. And mind you, this was before we even had the aquatic turret Octillery. It was the only decent X water level I can find, whether it be an interesting experience and minimal hindrances. It seems passable enough, even though it's only from the first installment in the second generation series. Lucky number 7 goes to Launch. When it came down to the Pokemon Cluster Mug, it was way over my head. Each generation has several aquatic locations and expanding more and more with every region, even spin-offs such as the new Pokemon Snap, which I wasn't into since I treat modern AAA games and Nintendo's greed like the plague. And above all, it was just too brief despite having various Pokemon and enjoying the aquatic ambience. It was actually thanks to Grok itself that helped me through the foggy, murky sea of indecision, and it pointed me to Hoenn, which is the king of all maritime areas. And what a better choice than its trio of outstanding routes. The expansive triad of tropical routes are all located at the eastern point of Hoenn. And considering that Gen 3 is known as the Advanced Generation, they've introduced Pokemon and trainers to traverse through both above and below water, all connecting to Moss Deep City. Only accessible when a Pokemon's equipped with the move Surf and Dive, the player can explore caverns, and there's no pressure in the water itself, nor fears of drowning. The first route's not too special, but it does appreciate the submergence. And just like a mermaid looking for treasure, there are several items found if you're dedicated enough. Route 128 is a bit more complex, always having forks in the underwater road, with one of the paths leading to Seafloor Cavern and another to the Evergrande. And Route 129 is pretty much the same as Route 127, passing in between islets and trainers to assist on grinding. So too with several more items. Eventually you wind up at Route 130 and then the Secret Shore. If you happen to be lucky, however, starting a new Game Plus after completing the Hall of Fame and taking out Groudon at the Terra Cave, you come across a man at the Weather Institute. Once you do, you must be quick as the Marine Cave, the lair of Kyogre, emerges randomly, but within these three routes are the most common. They barely took the top 5 as they seemed average, but this was where Pokemon introduces underwater ventures, and it almost feels like you're a pseudo-merman or maid at times. It was something no other game has done prior to Gen 3, with little to no stress. Nor any RPGs in general other than being in the background. It does seem as mediocre as Low Tide, but they're special in their own right. I know everyone and their brother will always choose Coral Capers when it comes down to Donkey Kong Country, whether it be Block Fort or many members of a well-known defunct echo chamber. If you guys know me, I often take the road less traveled, and for once, I shall play the devil's advocate and instead pick some from the overhated installment Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie's Double Trouble. The first time ever appearing as a main entry in my countdowns. Cotton Top Kove, aka the third world of the Northern Hemisphere, and the king of all decent water levels. It's been very tricky picking on just one or even two sections out of all 5. Every one of them has their own quirks and atmospheres. Quite impressive nearing the end of the 16-bit era. Even looking at all the massive trio of waterfalls, the immense upper layer, and ginormous lakes says it all. So I guess I'll just jet ski through each one. Baza's Blockade, the first levels underwater, where several Bazas indefinitely spawn from small caves, moving in a horizontal direction. It's definitely more detailed than the usual coral capers. Plenty of bright, elaborate plants and landforms asunder. And the music itself gives it an eerie, adventurous feel. Rocket Barrel Ride takes place at a majestic waterfall, and much of it involves the Kongs using blast barrels to make their way upward. It's incredible in both scenery and sound, especially when you knock off a crumple, like a scene that speaks to you. Creeping Clasps take place on a series of boardwalks, although there is a Nibbler swimming in the lake below. Dixie and Kitty must use ropes to travel across the water safely, while also avoiding clasps. Similar to Tidal Trouble without Undertow or On Guard. Tracker Barrel Trek takes place at another mountainous waterfall where the Kongs have to use tracker barrels to travel their way across. Fish Food Frenzy's a step up from Bazaar's Blockade, featuring a Nibbler appearing behind Dixie and Kitty for nearly the entire level. It has to be constantly fed Cocos to remain blue and calm, otherwise it becomes red and hungry over time to the point of biting both Kongs. And finally the boss fight, Squirt Showdown, which is behind a waterfall on the eastern side of Cotton Top Cove, and it features a battle against a giant slug named Squirt. It's very interesting that Cotton Top Cove was inspired by Cotton Top Tamarin, which is a species of New World monkeys. Quite appropriate since we got the Kongs. As well as Cottonwood Cove, which is an unincorporated community in Nevada, interestingly enough. Coral Capers is just so overrated, and other aquatic levels deserve a chance to shine. And with all the different settings and styles, whether beautiful or deadly, Cotton Top Cove's portions deserve the top 5 here. This might as well actually be a tie, as I had a hard time picking one or the other. Located at the Thalassic page 5 of Yoshi's story, sections 1 and 2 are just so pleasant to be in. It's not just the music, but the atmospheres as a whole, almost like being immersed in large aquariums. Yeah, they pretty much function nearly the same way, only the latter has jellyfish encasing fruits. That is if you don't count the land sections accessed through pipes. These 2 levels are indeed subterranean and often have exploratory caverns, and it was interesting that the next generation of Yoshis are still omnivorous, rather than primarily herbivorous. What can I say? I love seafood. The best parts are the Yoshi swimming mechanics, which have little to no hindrance, and there's no stress involving any air meters, contrary to the 3D Mario games. The only killjoy can be if the marine environment gets too crowded with schools of Cheep Cheeps, accompanied by other enemies such as sea anemones, clams, the widescreen jellyfish, and there's even one heart-racing narrow maze in which you're always chased by Mr. Eel, which seems to be the mascot of this page. Maybe with the occasional bee's nest here and there. Despite the many obstructive enemies, it's a perfect place to immerse yourself in, even when fitting Mare Month. And the level design's not quite as irritating as those like an Awesome Possum or Croctopus Chase. As an introvert, these 2 levels can suit me well, and just like the summer season itself, they're difficult to let go. Because of their many similarities and how at times peaceful they can be, they both tie for 4th. Remember when I've mentioned Cape Claw as one of my favorite summer levels? Well, here's its own elemental stronghold. The Ocean Force Point Temple undoubtedly opposes its fiery counterpart, and it seems a little more lenient. Usually nothing but beautiful scenery deflecting from its serene waters, lesser enemies, and the majority involves puzzle solving rather than numerous hazards. The story goes that the Krazoa built these temples atop of Saria's force points of dark energy emanating from its core, like gas stations on oil hotspots, and thus breaking the world apart. So they united the 2 spellstones in both the Volcanic Temple in Moon Mountain Pass and the Ocean Temple in Cape Claw to hold Saria together. However, after General Scales invaded them, he separated and hidden the magical stones away, causing 4 portions of the world to break apart, and making a Sharpclaw army easier to enslave the inhabitants and conquer the world. So Fox would need to visit the Sacred Palace twice, after Cloudrunner Fortress and Dragon Rock, and unite the 2 blue spellstones. Though things can get a bit slippery. Several puzzles are present, including matching pillars on the opposite side to avoid getting electrocuted, doing some firefighting within a fast-paced time limit, with the second visit matching color-coded fire rings onto switches, a tenacious maze moving a massive block similar to Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple, bashing through several sharp claws, and all that work has no boss required, nor any air meters, nor heavy physics. Submergence is hardly necessary, and above all, the majestic overview makes it hard to leave. The downsides are that the puzzles can take a bit of patience and endurance, especially with the shocking floors. And it's worse that after Fox leaves it when restoring a spellstone, he's then framed by a Lightfoot taunting him as a thief, then being captured just as soon as he sets him up with the stone he gave him during a Sharpclaw ambush. By the time he unites the last spellstone, the planet's still on the brink of death, as he must finish gathering the Krazoa spirits. And also, this was one of the vital places in the ultimate story where Misty indulges herself, swimming around them again. It was written by a sociopath. It's not as tedious as the Oceans of Origin and Evo. It was easy topping Aquas that not even its remakes could beat it. And it's still pleasant to be in once you get the gist. It has an amazing balance of strategy, aesthetics, and immersion. I'll definitely take this over Zelda's Watery Dungeons any day. I'm sure you were all expecting Aquarium Park to be on here, but it has been done repetitively, and I found what's considered to be just as good: Seaside Hill from Sonic Generations. It's crazy to think that Sonic considers this place as a home as one of his favorite destinations. And we can't blame him because of its blissful rocky coastlines and sea, checkered grounds inspired by Green Hill Zone, and is within an archipelago similar to the Seville and Orange Islands in Pokémon, as well as plenty of palm trees, lush tall grass, white beaches reminding me of the Bahamas, and paying homage with a pod of orcas. Interestingly to note, it consists of ancient ruins that are semi-mobile with its platforms, as if they belong to a lost abandoned race, probably similar to the extinct echidnas. While this piece of paradise was introduced in Sonic Heroes, I first encountered this in Sonic Generations. Despite usually being brief and having your eyes peeled from outrageous speed, and being wary of hazards or oceanic pitfalls, it was twice the fun incorporating both classic and modern Sonic. It was a nice reference when the Time Eater took portions of its white space. That was until the pair of blue blurs succeeded and even restored Espio from his frozen state. I'll probably consider this over the usual Crisis City. It may not be as submerged as many prior levels since Labyrinth or Chemical Plant, but it's surely a relief. It's been done far too often to the point on oversaturation and trauma. And again, no worries on drowning, no altered physics, and the only hindrance can just be trench-like pits. Just running at warp speed freely through the archipelago piece of heaven. If only we do get to spend some leisure time here, and Sonic would actually have a permanent residence for once. The last aquatic environment has been very difficult to find and rank. No level is perfect, but I needed to search for one that is immersely fun, serene, beautiful, and as few hampers as possible. While most people may prefer Sonics such as Aquarium Park, but of course, ever since 1981, your rival has again beat you to the punch.
Super Mario Galaxy! Woohoo!
Originally, this, along with Cosmic Cove, was going to be tied for the gold. But since this in particular doesn't require ice, and because the majority involves submergence and stunning atmosphere, this was certainly the way to go as smooth as cruising with Koopa shells. Just the arrival alone can instantly catch your eye, like a massive elaborate entrance to a prestigious aquarium or other zillionaire settlement. It all feels so lush and natural, but we're just getting started. There are a couple annoying chiropterans, but they're hardly an issue once you ride a massive water slide for a change of pace, and then dunks you into the main watery body. Damn, how I wish water parks can be as exhilarating as that. Its true finesse lies within the gigantic fertile pond. Plenty of thick, tall seagrass, clams, eels, Koopa shells, and some treasure for good company. Excepting for the space mines. Can't believe Bowser would pollute the place with explosives. It's just as agonizing as the constant dropping mines and feeding frenzy. How I wish Bikini Bottom would get a shipload of nukes. The shell well, as they call it, is truly where it's at. And just like Cosmic Cove, World 6 treats the shells like a necessity. Aside from the said mines, which could simply be obliterated, this was the ideal place to immerse myself in. The outstanding areas in and out of water are just breathtaking and intoxicating. Not just counting the gradual decrease in air, of course. It's incredibly fun being immersed in this one particular spot, whether there's a green shell or no. God damn, even the tunnel exit is just as, or even more scenic. Being in that underwater forest leading up to the Gringill Tunnel, with an amazing diversity of life despite being enemy creatures. There's this link star that takes you to a dungeon of sorts, and Mario Galaxy is phenomenally unique, using walls of immersive water unlike any game has done before. Still, there's another gleeful, gigantic water slide dropping to another thrilling section in which Mario or Luigi utilizes the green shell and performs aileron rolls faster and faster while increasing speed underwater. Sometimes it's heart-wrenching to reach a coin or bubble to take in more oxygen despite the thrill ride, and it's literally a narrow escape as those rings are the only way to traverse through the blockable walls, so I often don't stay there for long. However, the exciting rides and eye-popping sections save the best for last, as you're greeted by a heavenly scenery where sunset resides, with no music and a very balmy, beautiful place. The outlook encases 2 waterfalls at the perimeters with valley lily pads and columns of lush grass. This might as well be the outstanding place for all benign and bovine nature, especially capybaras. The last gaming era in the 8th generation definitely hid away and unveiled an unbelievable treasure. If there's a small portion of heaven I'd love to have, this is one of them. It may seem short, with only 2 main stars and 2 green stars to grab, but it's definitely worth the brief length. It's just paradise within the cosmos. Just exploring, relaxing, and taking in both the balance of the fast and unwinding sections just makes Slimy Spring Galaxy as my all-time favorite water level that is almost impossible to leave behind. I'm the Ecron Rider, and out of all the galaxies the 2 Mario Galaxy games entail, Slimy Spring is indeed my GOAT. And I don't give a damn when people say Galaxy 2 is a dull ripoff of the original. Not even from a certain hot-headed Joker clone. Mario Galaxy 2 was what I've encountered first, and aside from adding in Yoshi, the galaxies are more expansive and detailed. Slimy Spring was completely irresistible, and no other game, platformer or otherwise, can ever top this. Fun, atmosphere, thrill rides, eye-catchy details, and immersion is what makes a water level truly special, overriding the infamous tropes. And Slimy Spring exceeds them.